Why do we feel it's necessary to yak about bullshit in order to be comfortable?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Welcome back, everyone. It is your reluctant gringo back again, south of the border. And I told you I'd be back. I told you this afternoon I'd be back. Yeah, we'd be doing our late night thing. We always love doing our late night thing. And if you hear anything weird, as I get things all settled up and ready to go here, there is a hurricane hitting South Mexico. So it's pretty much the remnants are coming through where I am right now. So, if the window rattles, the rain, the thunder, all that, the wind, if you hear any of that stuff, I do apologize, but hey, it is what it is, and we'll deal with it, and we'll go from there. But today, let's get this ready and rolling and rocking and rolling. Oh, it's been a fun day. All right, and thank you to everybody who joined me today on our stream. We looked at a bunch of stuff, so appreciate that. But today, this is probably it's the news story that shocked me as much as I think it'll probably shock you if you haven't seen it, heard it. But it really just tells you, the idea of, what exactly was going on at the end of the Biden administration, exactly who was in charge and who knows who was doing what. If Joe Biden even knew what he was doing, when he was doing it, and how he was doing it, or what he was approving. But this is from Fox News. And of course, it's from Fox News because they're the only reporters that were embedded with ICE while they were going on a raid in Los Angeles. Beautiful downtown Los Angeles. So they ran across this guy. I don't have his picture up, but his name is Alexander Alfredo Palacios Guevara. So this gentleman, older gentleman, he looked older. I don't want to assume his age. Whatever, I don't want to assume his age, was arrested by ICE. And of course, Fox News was there to capture it all. And the man had a deportation order on him since 2024. At least that's what ICE thought. But it gets this is the weirdest, most nefarious. I wish I had an explanation to you what I'm going to explain to you next. I don't. I just don't. I don't know exactly. I'm sure somewhere, somehow, there's some sort of piece of paper, scrap paper that's going to tell you why what I'm about to tell you is okay. Well, this gentleman, who's in the country illegally, is a convicted murderer. He's from El Salvador. He has also, who's not only has a murder conviction, but also 2 counts of attempted murder dating back to 1994. And other news sources that have picked this up have now said he also has alleged convictions or warrants or is being sought after for doing bad things with children. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then doing bad things with women. That's all I'm going to say about that. So this is a real stand-up guy. He's also a known gang member in El Salvador. So a real stand-up guy. He came to the country illegally and has been enjoying the sanctuary city of Los Angeles ever since. So ICE went and they arrested him. And he seemed pretty calm, pretty cool, pretty collected, because he knew something ICE didn't. He knew something that the rest of the world didn't, or at least Fox News didn't, or anybody interviewing him didn't, as they're bringing him into the detention center, where he's going to get his biometrics taken, fingerprinted, all that. He's going to get his mug shot, and deportation proceedings will commence from there. The Fox News journalist asks him, are you in the country illegally? Are you a convicted murderer? Which, of course, he's known to already be. Well, the man says, I have cat. Which the Fox News journalist didn't kind of understand that for a second. I had to do some research later on, like, what does that mean? Which turns out to be Convention Against Torture. He was granted by the Biden administration Board of Immigration Appeals, BIA, which the gentleman This gentleman recounts flawlessly in his mind that on December 18th, with basically a month to go in his administration, Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, their Justice Department, decided this man says he's afraid to go back to El Salvador because he's afraid he'll be tortured or murdered. Therefore, they gave him special protection and he cannot be deported from the United States. I'm going to repeat that in a little different way so hopefully everybody can understand it. The Biden administration, Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, the Attorney General at the time, decided that it would be best to protect this gentleman, a convicted murderer, convicted of attempted murder twice, a known gang member, and wanted for multiple other crimes against children and women. It would be best for everyone if they granted him this quasi-asylum and freedom to live in Los Angeles off the taxpayer dollar because he never became legal. He didn't apply for citizenship. He didn't apply for residency in all this time. They decided it would be best for the communities at large that this man wander free. I'm not quite sure exactly how to articulate how insane that sounds to me. But let's first take this gentleman, Alexander's, Mr. Guevara's claim that he might be tortured and murdered. To that I say, who gives a shit? I really don't. You are a convicted murderer. You are convicted of attempting murder twice more on top of that. You're a known gang member and you're wanted in your home country for horrific crimes. I don't care. No one should care. Maybe it's some people say, gringo, you need more empathy. I just don't have empathy for this man. I certainly don't want him wandering around free in the neighborhoods of the United States. At best, if we wanted to keep him, if Merrick Garland and Joe Biden said to themselves, this is the type of person we want populating our country now, at best, they should have put him in jail. Said, you know what? You can stay in the United States. You can stay in a jail rest of your life. But they didn't do that. They just let him free. And who knows what he's been up to since then? Who knows what he's been doing? Who knows who he's hurt? Who knows what crime he may have facilitated? Because obviously there's a history of criminality there. And of course, that's all alleged. But then, your mind wanders. But this is what's happened. And now the Trump administration actually has to figure out a way to deport this man, and they might not be able to. They might actually have to release this guy back into the wild. And the question now becomes, how many more criminals like this did the Biden administration do this for? How many more people did they say, oh, you're afraid to go back home because you're afraid to get hurt, even though you're committed some of the most horrific crimes any human being could commit against another? Yeah, sure, you can stay here. No problem. Oh, you promised to be good this time? Oh, no problem. No problem. You came in illegally? No problem. You didn't tell us about your history? No problem. We'll set you free. Oh, yeah, by the way, if you go to California, they'll pay for everything. No problem. You have food, you have a roof over your head. Quote, the criminal alien, and this is from an ICE spokesperson, quote, the criminal alien should never have been roaming the streets of Los Angeles. I agree. Not only is he a member of the ruthless Sorenos gang, but he also has multiple convictions for murder, assault, and R and SA of a minor. So according to ICE, they're not warrants. They're also convictions for those terrible, disgusting crimes. But Joe Biden and Merrick Garland are like, yeah, no problem. It's not a big deal. It's in the past. Live and let live, right? We're not going to send you back to El Salvador. Of course he'd be afraid to go back to El Salvador because he's going into a real bad jail system. And to that I say, good. I don't care about this guy's well-being. I really don't. The only thing he could say when asked, are you a convicted murderer? He goes, I'm free. well, if President Trump has his way and he does what he wants to do, you won't be free for much longer. And hopefully this can all be overturned. And I'm not sure it can be. I've been rooting around, researching. Y'all know me. Y'all know when I get on and I start digging down the rabbit hole of government documents and government laws and what's this and what's that. You know, I always come prepared. This is one of those cases where I was like, it's not really clear if Trump administration can do anything to reverse the Biden era decision to grant this gentleman deferred deportation. Quote, a highly unusual Biden era legal decision from December allowed this dangerous criminal, there we go, make that nice and big, a highly unusual, I would say this is highly unusual, but then again, it's Biden. He probably didn't even understand what he was doing. He probably wasn't even told. If you ask Joe Biden about this, he's going to be like, what? A highly unusual Biden-era legal decision from December allowed this dangerous criminal to live in American communities. Thanks to the leadership of President Trump and Secretary Noem, we are removing public safety threats as it always should have been. The ICE statement continued. So the order reads, so now since he has this protected status, ICE had to release him. But they decided the next day, because he's a massive public safety risk, screw that. We'll worry about the courts later. We're going to go pick this guy up. So he remains in federal custody as of right now, and pray to God this guy isn't released onto the streets. This is a predator. This is a predator, and for, you know, it's not alleged. He's been convicted. It's a predator. Does not belong. But we'll see what happens. Stranger things are happening, right? So, yeah, there it is. When Fox News asked if he was a convicted murderer, Guevara responded, I'm free. Well, your victims aren't free. Your victims are dead. He says he quit yelling, I have an immigration attorney. I have an immigration attorney. The immigration attorney asking about who he's concerned will torture. Fox News reached out to his immigration attorney asking about who he's concerned will torture him in El Salvador and for more details about his case. But there has been no response yet. The nation's eyes turned onto Los Angeles earlier this month as ICE narrowed in on operations in the region, which led to protests and riots in the city and throughout the community. That's right, the riots. The mostly, I'm sorry, I apologize. The mostly peaceful protests. These are the people they were protecting. These are the people they're continuing to try to protect. And you're not getting the real news. You're hearing, I just heard a story, and I had to do some digging on it. You're not getting the real, I heard a story from MSNBC that, quote unquote, the Trump administration is sending ICE agents and arresting immigrants, illegal immigrants, at their immigration hearings. Well, that's not what they're doing. That's half the story. The ICE agents are there. The illegal immigrants come in. They have their hearing. If they are denied their immigration and are told that they need to leave and are, quote unquote, illegally in the country, then they are arrested. ICE is not just picking people up and ripping people off out of the courtroom. That's not what's happening. But it's only the half story. But yet the Biden administration, this is really what the Trump administration is up to, is up against. People who have been convicted of murder, convicted of attempted murder, convicted of horrific crimes against children were protected in the last month of the Biden administration using a very unusual, very seldom used, for this case, I would think, law. And that's what we have. So I don't think the gentleman should be, I use the word gentleman loosely. I don't think he should be in the country. I don't think he should either, but you can let me know if you think he should stay or what you think should happen to him. But there you go. I was absolutely flabbergasted by this whole story today. Not only are we allowing murderers into the country because we're not enforcing the law at the border for 4 years, but when those murderers complain, we're then protecting them. I don't know. Up is down, down is up, left is right, right is left, black is white, white is black. I don't get it anymore. I just don't get it anymore. Coming from a member of an immigrant family, I don't get it anymore. But, so the news, this story has been picked up. He's being shielded. Murderer shielded by Biden-era torture protection. All right. They have a nice little timeline on this one. 1994, Mr. Guevara had 2 counts of attempted murder. December 18th, Biden-era Board of Immigration Appeals granted Rivera DCAT, which is that protection. Earlier this month, nation's eyes turned to all that, right? So, again, I think we have to wait to the Supreme Court. We're going to have to wait to the Supreme Court to basically kind of figure this all out for us because it's just going to be a mess. The mess is even greater than I thought, inherited by this administration, and I feel bad for that, but it is what it is. Now, speaking of messes, President Trump is besieged by federal judges everywhere. So, we're going to talk about actually breaking news. This is breaking news. Now, we all heard Governor Newsom say that President Trump had no right, you had Mayor Bass said President Trump has no right to federalize and send in a National Guard. And that first day when they said it, I told you, yes, he does. Yes, he does, because Lyndon B. Johnson did it as president to enforce desegregation in 1965, and presidents have done it since then. There is precedent for this. So Gavin Newsom sued. Of course he did. He's got judges in California that are very liberal, and of course the first judge he went and shopped it to ruled against Trump, said, nope, Trump overstepped his constitutional boundaries. And of course this judge has no idea what the constitutional boundaries were. He just hates Trump, so he's going to rule against Trump. Well, it went to an appeals court within hours. Of course, Gavin Newsom comes out and goes, we won, and it's a great day for democracy, and we're winning, and the resistance. And then hours later, he's going to be told, Governor, you just lost in the Sixth Circuit. So what did the governor do? Did he take it lying down like a man? Take it lying down? No, he stood up like a man, and he fought. He said, I'm going to the Ninth Circuit, because the Ninth Circuit is traditionally the most liberal federal circuit in the country. But President Trump kind of fixed that. He was able to place one conservative judge on that, because it's a three panel judge, a three judge panel. But amazingly, the Ninth Circuit has now ruled unanimously that Gavin Newsom has no leg to stand on, that Trump can command a National Guard as California's legal challenges move forward. The appeals court says, yes, he can, because he's the fucking president and it's the National Guard. They're the military. Last I checked, the executive branch, Article 2, gave the president authority over the military and the militias. It's not hard, folks. It's not hard when you read the Constitution and go, oh, okay, that's how that works. But apparently a lot of these judges don't want it to work that way. But this 3-judge panel said unanimously, no, President Trump is the executive. He's the commander-in-chief. So the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals decided Thursday to leave troops in Los Angeles in the hands of the Trump administration, while California's objections are litigated in federal court, finding they found that the president has broad, though not unreviewable. Of course, everything's reviewable. We have judicial review. That's plain as we've had judicial review since 1803. Marbury versus Madison. We all learned about that court case in grade school. Though not unreviewable, authority to deploy the military in American cities. We disagree with defendants' primary argument that the president's decision to federalize members of the California National Guard is completely insulated from judicial review. That's fine. Nonetheless, we are persuaded that under long-standing precedent, interpreting the statutory predecessor, which is what I just, some of the stuff we just talked about, our review of that decision must be highly deferential, which means we ain't touching this with a 10-foot pole. Let the Supreme Court handle it. Let a federal court handle it. We're not touching this. At this point, California is going to continue to litigate it, but they're beating a dead horse. They're talking to a wall. It ain't going nowhere. They're not going to win, and they should understand that. The writing is on that wall. So President Trump is the commander-in-chief, folks. Like it or don't like it. Almost 80 million people voted for him to be the commander-in-chief. And that's exactly what he is. So men and women in uniform ultimately will answer to and obey the orders of the commander-in-chief. And that's President Trump right now. And again, you can like it, you cannot like it, but for the next 4 years, learn to just get used to it. Get used to it. You want to riot? He's not going to let riots happen again. He did that in his first term. In his first term, he's like, you know what? I'm going to be conservative. I'm not going to send in I'm not going to federalize the troops. I'm not going to send them in. The Summer of Love, 2020, George Floyd, all that. And he waited. And he waited a few days. And by day 7, the fucking country was on fire. He's not doing that again. He's not going to do it. He's not going to put up with it again. He's going to federalize these troops, and he's going to put these riots down. And now the appellate court has said he has every right to do so. But there you go. Now, that's one court case. The second court case that got ruled against President Trump today, really interesting one. It's not as sexy. It's not as sexy as the whole troops in LA riots one, right? It's not as juicy, but it actually is when you start to dig into it. So one of President Trump's executive orders when he first came into office was that, you know what? If you're a sanctuary state, if you're a sanctuary city, and you don't want to comply with our deportation efforts, you don't want to comply with ICE, you don't want to comply with DHS, you don't want to comply with federal law, we're not going to send you money. Starting with the Department of Transportation. Fill your own potholes in. Build your own bridges. Maintain your own roadways. So he wrote that into his executive order. Well, of course, about 20 states, 23 states sued the administration. And when you sue the administration on a federal level, you get to go judge shopping. Well, they found themselves a doozy in this one. Right now, a federal judge has halted Trump's plan to cut funding for sanctuary states that refuse to cooperate. But who is this federal judge, you say, gringo? Well, a federal judge in Rhode Island, the land of all mafia. By the way, Rhode Island, Providence, lovely city if you ever go to it. It's not a big city. It's a lovely city. I used to go down there every now and again. Federal Hill, a lot of guys with crooked noses, nice hats, nice suits. Don't fuck with them. Go into the cafe, ask for your cannoli, ask for your coffee, and get the hell out. They don't want to talk to you. All right, that's called Federal Hill. Just don't screw around up there, but great food. So, a federal judge in Rhode Island issued a preliminary injunction on Thursday, blocking the Trump administration from denying federal transportation funds to states that do not cooperate with immigration authorities. 20 Democratic-led states brought a lawsuit against President Donald Trump's administration, challenging a new Department of Transportation policy of withholding or terminating federal funding to any state or local government that does not comply with immigration enforcement policies, so-called sanctuary city jurisdictions. Well, here's the judge, U.S. District Court Judge John J. McConnell Jr. And I said to myself, gringo, you've heard that name before. Where did I was racking my brain, thinking to myself, where have I heard that name before? And then I remembered I have Google. So I threw it into Google and I said, I know it. And then I wondered after I found what I found, what in the hell is this guy doing deciding any case to deal with Donald Trump or any federal law or any federal thing? Why is this guy not on sort of a sabbatical? Why is he not on some sort of, I don't know, temporary leave while things get sorted out? And why do I say that? Oh, yes. Because this is his order granting all of it, right? Railing against the Trump administration, right? The other one that he wrote here, using capital letters and stuff like that. Like, oh my God, it's the court issued a temporary restraining order to temporarily continue the status quo, blah, blah, blah. The court denies the defendant's motion to stay the court's order and all that. And then that this Trump administration has any rights in this whole thing. I'm going to get to who he is in a second, but I just want you to know exactly how biased he is. He writes in this whole thing saying that the defendants have no reason to not apply this order immediately, that they shouldn't, even if they're going to appeal, they should not do anything but do what I tell them to do as a federal judge. Well, who is this guy? Well, I remembered. This is Congress's website. You ever want to know what they're doing? You ever want to know what a bill is? What bill says what committee it's in? Well, this is the Judiciary Committee. This is H.R. Resolution 241. It was introduced on March 24th, 2025, referred to the House Committee on the Judiciary, the people who deal with judges. It's impeachment. The Republicans have introduced a resolution months ago to impeach this very judge. Yet he still sits while awaiting this whole process to go, deciding cases. And why? Why, Gringo, did they want to impeach him? Now, I know the text is, it's Congress. They I don't know why they believe in small font. My old eyes can't handle it sometimes. But here's the resolution that was sent to the judiciary. Resolved that John James McConnell Jr., Chief Judge of the United States District Court for the District of Rhode Island, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and that the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. So we have a judge who is technically within the beginning processes of impeachment, deciding cases on a federal level still. I would think that there's some sort of mechanism to say, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Hey, you should take a break. Hey, maybe you should focus on this instead. I don't know. Just me. If I was accused of a crime and I worked at some corporate whatever, they'd show me the door. I'd be like, but I haven't had a trial yet. Doesn't matter. They show you, go focus on this life now. But I guess if you're a chief judge of the United States District Court for the District of Rhode Island, where the guys with the crooked noses and the nice suits and the nice hats and the Italian accents, I guess, and they like their pasta, I guess things are different there. So what is he being impeached for? Well, here's Article 1, abuse of power. Rather than adhering to the oath he took to uphold the Constitution when he was sworn as Chief Judge of the District Court of Rhode Island, Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. knowingly politicized and weaponized his judicial position to advance his own political views and beliefs. Who doesn't think this guy wasn't going to rule against Trump in any case brought it? It could be like, it doesn't matter what the case is. It could have been Trump spit on the sidewalk. He's going to rule against Donald Trump. He's obviously someone who has been known. To bring articles of impeachment on a judge into the Judiciary Committee is a big deal. But yet this guy's still deciding cases that involve our president. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment, blah, 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 blah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Oh, this is where it gets fun. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. engaged in actions that prioritized his own political views and beliefs over his duty of impartiality owed and deserved to litigants and the public in his handling of State of New York versus Donald J. Trump. Ooh. So it goes back. He's a Trump hater. Again, why is he allowed to decide cases? Isn't this a conflict of interest at this point in time? I would think it's a conflict of interest. But let's continue. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. has spent his entire professional career displaying his political views and beliefs in his financial contributions as well as public comments. The Code of Conduct for United States Judges states under Canon 5 that, quote, a judge should refrain from political activity. I would think that if you're a judge, if I'm a judge and I read that, I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm a simple gringo. I read that and I say to myself, well, I guess I'm not donating to any political parties anymore. I'm a judge. I wanted to be a judge. So no one put a gun to my head to say you have to be a judge. So I want to be a judge, so I become a judge. Shouldn't I be excited about following the rules of being a judge? A judge should refrain from, isn't donating to a political party political activity? But yet he still sits on a bench, sits in a courtroom, and is allowed to decide cases involving President Trump. Doesn't seem right to me. Something smells to me, but let's continue. Maybe there's good news in here. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. served as the director of the Rhode Island branch of Planned Parenthood. Oh, dear God. Okay, so that's a political action committee. That's a political organization, Planned Parenthood. I'm not saying you agree or disagree. I'm not here to argue abortion with you. But it's a political entity at best. And Chief Judge John McConnell Jr. and his wife contributed almost $700,000. Damn, it's good to be a judge. In political donations to Democratic committees, causes, and campaigns. Okay. All right. Canon 5, a judge should refrain from political activity. $700,000 seems like a lot of political activity to me. All right. Well, all right. Let's see if it gets better for the judge. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. has allowed his personal political opinions to influence his decisions and rulings. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. has made an array of public comments clearly demonstrating a bias that would warp his decision in state of New York versus Donald Trump. Okay. In January 2021, Chief Judge James McConnell Jr. made public comments stating, "We fall back on kind of a stereotypical comment that judges should have no opinions and whatnot, and that's just not true." I thought judges shouldn't have opinions. I thought they're supposed to be unbiased. If you have an opinion, it means you're biased. I mean, I'm doing the mental gymnastics here, right? I'm Judge John J. McConnell Jr. Judge John James McConnell Jr. All right. Well, okay. All right. I'm not sure exactly how you get there, but all right, let's continue. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. made public comments in January 2021 that equated President Donald J. Trump's first term as president to the Civil War and Jim Crow laws and likened him to a tyrant. Why is this man... Why is he overseeing anything that Trump does? Any case involving Donald Trump? He should have recused himself. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. made public comments in January 2021 that when sentencing, the law applies to them where they are, for criminals who are women, black, or transgender. The law is supposed to be blind. It shouldn't matter if you're black, women, transgender. Does that mean if you steal something and if you're a tranny, you get a lighter sentence or it's okay? This guy's a riot. This guy would probably be great to go out and have a beer with, probably. See what kind of nut stuff he comes up with, some sort of opinions. Let's continue. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. made public comments in January 2021 stating, "When you're sentencing someone, that you have to take a moment and realize that this, middle class, white, male, privileged person needs to understand the human being who comes before us. That may be a woman or may be black, may be a transgender, may be poor, may be rich, may be whatever, may have experiences but not yours, and may have to walk in their shoes and understand that the law applies to them where they are, and then you have to apply the law accordingly." I thought the law applies to everybody equally. Right now, I feel more qualified to be Chief Justice of the District of Rhode Island more than this guy. I know, I've seen the statue. It's the Lady Justice, the scale, she's blind. She's got the blindfold. Maybe that's it. Maybe he didn't see the statue. Maybe that's the part of law school he missed. He didn't see the statue. Oh, the law's blind. Okay. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. made public comments in January 2021 stating, "We have formed a committee to look at race in our court. Have we given disparate sentences between blacks and whites about hiring practices?" I'm not sure why that belongs in the court. You're a judge, you're not HR. Please be a judge, not HR. I don't know if it belongs in the courts. Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr.'s financial contributions and overt public comments clearly demonstrated political bias that would impair his ability to make a fair judgment regarding President Trump and his administration's actions. So far, well, it goes on. There's Article 2, conflict of interest. Oh, dear God. Okay. All right. But this is the guy, again, overseeing a court case involving the Trump administration. Something is not right here, folks. It's not right and shouldn't be right. While serving as chief judge for the United States District Court of Rhode Island, blah, 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 had a major conflict of interest that prevented him from being impartial in the matter of state of New York versus Donald Trump. Well, I think that's obvious at this point. He serves on the board of directors of nonprofit organizations. That's not a big deal. Okay. Crossroads, Rhode Island. I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to say anything. And previously served as the chair of the board from 2011 to 2021. Okay. I don't know what Crossroads. Okay. According to Crossroads, Rhode Island, I'm going to have to look this up. What is Crossroads in Rhode Island? Pardon me while the gringo Googles. Hope this is safer. Crossroads, Rhode Island is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping homeless and at-risk individuals and families find stable housing in Rhode Island. Okay. I don't think that's a big deal. Okay, so the first part of this resolution I can see, okay, being a big deal. Get individuals into housing. Yeah. I'm all about, let's get people houses. Sure. Okay, cool. All right, so I got no problem with that. This, I think, is just, okay, but whatever. Okay, we'll move on. Here, I think he's doing a good thing. All right. Not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he hates Trump. Shouldn't be overseeing any case with Trump. Wow, it's good to be a judge. According to Crossroads Rhode Island tax filings for 2023, his total revenue was $30 million, of which $18 million came from an array of government entities, including the government of Rhode Island. Right? Maybe they're insinuating some sort of corruption there. I'm not sure, but again, I don't see a problem with the government of Rhode Island passing some money on to an organization that helps homeless. Okay. All right. We got more Crossroads money. Again, I'm not going to spend time on that because I don't think that's a big deal. I think that's a good deal. People need houses. The state government of Rhode Island is a named plaintiff in the lawsuit against President Donald J. Trump and his administration over which Chief Judge John James. Okay, that's a problem. If you're getting millions of dollars from the state of Rhode Island for an organization that you're overseeing, even though it's nonprofit and has like really healthy and really sincere and honest goals to give people houses, you can't oversee things when you can't do that. You can't be in that courtroom. You can't be deciding the state of Rhode Island versus Donald Trump. You got to go, you know what, guys, I got to sit this one out. That's what you have to do. Now I see why they're including all the money. There's a clear conflict of interest given the Chief Judge John James McConnell Jr. By the way, that's the whitest name ever. So for a guy who's like, we need to know all these other experiences, black and women and transgender, like this sounds like the whitest guy ever. I don't know what he looks like. He could be like an Asian dude. I don't know. But there you go. Presided over and made a decision regarding a case which significantly impacts the funding of an organization in which he serves as a director of and as a fiduciary. Well, you shouldn't do that. You're a judge. You know better. All right. Section 455 of Title 28, United States Code requires that any justice, judge, or magistrate judge of the United States shall disqualify himself in any proceeding which his impartiality might reasonably be questioned. I'm reasonably questioning it, and I'm stupid. I'm a stupid person. He's a federal judge. He should be way smarter than me. I'm like, he's here supposedly smart-wise because you're a federal judge. I'm like bottom of the, I'm almost like not bottom of the barrel. You're going to lift up the barrel and kind of like that. That's me. But even I understand this. So my point is this. Why is this guy overseeing any case that involves Donald Trump? I have a feeling Donald Trump's telling his lawyers, don't do a damn thing this guy tells you to do. I don't care. And you know what? Good for Donald Trump. Good for the president, because he shouldn't. This guy has no business being in this particular case. He has no business being in any case involving the Trump administration at this point. So, there we go. Bada boom, bada bing. It's back to my pretty face. And the rain has held off. Yay. It's not raining anymore. With that, I'm going to sign off. Those are my 3 stories of the day. I'm still your elected gringo. We're expecting a lot of news tomorrow. Supreme Court's going to hand down a bunch of opinions tomorrow. We'll see what we get. A little smorgasbord of controversy. It's must-see news at that point in time. All right? But with that, I'm still your reluctant gringo. I hope everybody has a great night. Everybody has a great weekend. Salud a huevo from south of the border, everybody. Bye-bye.
You a racist? Do you hate Mexicans?
So long, gay boys!